Look at the first chapter of Genesis, and you find a linguistic anomaly in the very first verses. The text depicts a singular creator saying, "Let us make man in our image." The physical descriptions of this entity follow a similarly confusing pattern. A few chapters later, this supposedly formless being is described walking through a garden. Later, it sits down to eat meals with humans, and often expresses surprise or panic when its subjects disobey. The record then introduces the Nephilim. According to these accounts, physical beings from the heavens descended to earth and produced children with human women, a union that created a race of towering, powerful hybrids. The Testament of Coburnicus uses these specific textual gaps as a starting point. It approaches these accounts as a literal, albeit fragmented, history of a botched encounter between humans and a distinct group of visitors. The Testament identifies two separate realities. First, the travelers, the finite physical beings our ancestors encountered. Second, the frequency, the ultimate cosmic vibration that broadcast before time began. Misidentifying these advanced visitors as the ultimate source changed the trajectory of human belief. Our spiritual foundations are built upon a case of mistaken cosmic identity. These travelers, the Elohim of the Hebrews and the Anunnaki of the Sumerians, landed on Earth and built their first physical operations in Mesopotamia. To manage the labor of a new colony, the travelers initiated a genetic modification project. They merged their own DNA with early Earth hominids to create the Adamu, an engineered workforce smart enough to coordinate complex tasks, but biologically limited to ensure they remained servants. The forbidden fruit in Eden served as a biological catalyst. Consuming it triggered the human mind's innate capacity to perceive the frequency, the actual infinite source underlying the universe. This awakening terrified the travelers. They realized their workers could now see that their gods were just finite physical beings. To maintain their control, the travelers forcibly suppressed this genetic trait and drove humanity into exile. The fall of man was a security breach. The travelers responded to our awakening by seizing our awareness and forcing us into spiritual isolation. Generations later, a rogue faction of travelers called the Watchers abandoned their distant outposts and moved directly into human settlements. These Watchers accelerated human development by handing over advanced technologies far before we were ready. They provided the secrets of metallurgy for weaponry and the mathematical patterns of astrology. The Watchers also interbred with humans, resulting in the Nephilim. These hybrids possessed the strength and intelligence of their fathers, but were born with the genetic suppression that cut them off from the frequency. These hybrids viewed ordinary humans as cattle. Nephilim warlords established kingdoms based on absolute violence, plunging the ancient world into a state of disconnected chaos. The Traveler High Council viewed this as a failed experiment. The Great Flood was a tactical planetary reset, an orbital strike designed to exterminate the Nephilim and clean the biological slate. Noah survived because he was one of the few humans who had successfully retuned his consciousness back to the frequency. His meditation allowed him to hear the warning the rest of the world missed. The deluge was a catastrophic scrubbing of the planetary system, leaving behind a traumatized, spiritually severed remnant of humanity. Post-flood humanity eventually attempted to pool their collective intelligence once again at the Tower of Babel, operating with a single language and a unified purpose. The travelers viewed this unity as a threat. They deployed a countermeasure to scramble human language, scattering the population to prevent another coordinated uprising. This scattering fractured our unified memory of the travelers, morphing them into the competing pantheons of Greek, Egyptian, and Hindu mythology. Centuries of territorial holy wars followed, as nations fought over regional interpretations of the exact same ancient visitors. Abraham was born into the heart of the system in the city of Ur. His family served as priests in the ziggurats, ministering directly to the physical travelers. Abraham realized these beings had origins and limits. He bypassed the physical intermediaries entirely, performing a radical spiritual hack to tap directly into the universal frequency. The struggle of human history reflects this biological disconnect. Our ancestors were modified for service and then isolated from the source, leaving us with a lingering, nameless hunger for connection. Resolution requires bypassing the structures of our makers to reattune our consciousness to the frequency itself.